Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to do some research on the paper that we're working on. So, if you remember where, let me share my screen. Share this one. There you go. So, if you remember at the last stream, we were talking about the paper that we want to work on, right? Mainly determining the effect of colors on 3D printing filament. Okay, and we have some ideas of taking the natural colors as the color group, right? The no color additive. So basically the reference, and then by keeping as close as we can the formula, like just changing the color, and then doing a bunch of tests, right? Temperature, mechanical, and physical. The idea is um, to define how the color dye basically would affect any like temperature resistance, mechanical property, or physical property. So that's that was the idea. And then we had a few filament that we wanted to go for: PLA based, PETG based, ABS based, and ASA based, and then natural, black, white, gray, red, and blue. So that was the idea, right? So this is what we talked about last time. Today I want to stay on this, but I want to do a little bit of some research on what has been done already, right? On when it comes to the research behind how the colors are affecting 3D printing filament performance, right? So yeah, that's it. That's the summary of what we're going to do today. So I will jump on Google, and then that's where everything starts when it comes to research, right? And if you have some better ideas on how we can find some research, or if you have some interesting link, just let me know. But as of right now, I will just get started and say how, you know what, I will copy paste the idea of the paper we wanted to do, and then let's see what we have. So obviously we have the CNC kitchen test that he has done for the different filament. That's something we can review actually, to see what we have learned from that video, and what can we improve, right? Is there anything we can learn from it? So if we start, is there a start here? Paper and article. Okay, so actually there is some research already here. Influence on material color and mechanical properties, the effect of PLA colors on material properties, etc., etc. Yeah, actually that's the whole. Let me link that in the. I think I can remove this. Yeah, let me link that here for you guys if you want to check. Okay, so how the color of PLA filament influence printer part strength. Okay, so that was the video. Years ago, I was at an injection molding company discussing a part very tight tolerance, where the owner told me how different their material shrinkage was depending on the color. Okay, they use, and that blue was the worst. So worst meaning, I guess, the highest shrinkage rate. Ever since that day, I wondered if this is the same with 3D printing filament. Does its color affect the performance of our part? Most of you will know that there are a ton of parameters that will influence the strength of your 3D print. Yeah, more infill, perimeter, stronger part, higher extrusion temperature, better layer adhesion, etc., etc. And of course, the market of different filament type is huge. There's PLA, PTG, nylon, ABS, and even sub-variant like PLA plus. Okay, blah blah. How strong it is. Yet, have you ever considered the color of the filament? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. So when filament manufacturers make material, they usually buy uncolored resin pellets in bulk and then mix them in the extruder itself with a small amount of pigment in the form of so-called master batch. Okay, so one thing is, I learned that there's a difference between pigment and dye, and you can use both. So I guess what I want to know is, what is the difference between pigment and dye? Okay, so pigment and dyes are both colorant that add to color to matter, but they differ in several ways. Particle size. Dyes particles are much smaller than pigment particles, similar to the difference between a pinhead and a football. I have no idea what is a pinhead. Is that a pinhead? What? Pinhead object? Oh, a pinhead. Okay, a pinhead and a football. Okay, so that's okay. So there is an order of magnitude between the size of a dye compared to a pigment that is much bigger. Dyes. Hey, Nick, how are you? Dyes are soluble in a medium such as water or alcohol, while pigment are insoluble. Okay, so it's another difference. Dyes attach to a substrate or dissolve in a solvent, becoming part of the material's chemical solution. Pigments provide color without interacting with other substances. Okay, so that's important because maybe pigments would affect. Let me think. I don't know, but the fact that they interact differently. So one interacts. So the dye is solely part of the chemical, in that case chemical solution, and the pigment doesn't interact with the substance. So maybe that will also define whether it will affect the filament performance or not, whether you are using dye or pigments. Dyes can create a uniform color distribution throughout the material. Pigments need to be suspended in a binder, such as water or oil, to disperse them evenly on the surface. Okay, so here are some examples how pigments and dye are used. Dye ink can create crisp, clean stamp image, dry quickly, blah, blah, blah. Pigment ink is better for vibrant color, embossing, and mixed media project, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's the difference between dye and pigment. So let me copy paste this and record that. So there is a difference between dye and pigment. Something to remember in the research. Okay, let's go back here. So here we are only talking about pigments, but something to keep in mind is there is both. Filament manufacturers are using both dye and pigments. Small amount of pigment in the form of so-called master batch. So master batch, the meaning is these master batch are pellets that consist of highly concentrated pigment particles, fillers, or other additive, which then get dispersed into the molten polymer. Yeah. So basically, you cannot take the pigment as it is. Like, I'm assuming pigment is like some type of powder. So let me check. Pigments. Yeah, so pigment are like this type of powder, and I guess dye also. Yeah, and dye are also a powder, but much thinner, much thinner than pigment. That's what we just researched, right? Okay, so what they do is they already pre-mix it in a polymer. So my guess is they pre-mix it. For example, they pre-mix it in PLA, right? And then you remix it with PLA. So yeah, so if we have the concentration of the pigment in the master batch, and then we redilute it in the filament, then we have the exact amount of the dye, right, or the pigment. Blah blah. This colors the filament and even can give a unique look, like silk, glitter, matte apparent, blah blah. The components responsible for color can range from organic and inorganic pigments to carbon black and titanium dioxide for white. Okay, so once again, here there is one part that is, for me, is missing, is really the dye, the difference between pigments and dye. Depending on what's added, this process will also change the property of the final materials. Yet, we even find mechanical data sheet for filament. The properties are stated, usually generalized, not for a color. And this is true. In most of the filament manufacturers you are going to check, you will only see one TDS. And you're not going to see a TDS for black, TDS for white, TDS for red, etc., etc. Hi, Distant Medic. Yet, if we even find blah, 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 yeah, but there are differences. For my part, I always try to stay away from matte and silk materials because I often had problem with material flow, properly adhesion, and quality. Okay. Other than that, I'm honest here. I usually assume that the difference are negligible. Yes. Perform better or worse. Okay. And that's how a color master batch look like. A couple of years ago, I read the first publication on the impact of PLA colors on mechanical properties. Was released in similar investigation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, ranging to 30% difference. Okay, so here are what's available at the moment. So thank you, CNC Kitchen, for making it easier. So there is a paper, Influence of Material Colors on Mechanical Properties of PLA Materials on FDM technologies. So can we have access to the whole thing? Let's see. This paper. Let's see. Oh, it's not working. Download full text PDF. Okay. Did it work? Okay, it worked. Thank you, little panda. So this is the first paper, right? That, I mean, I don't know if it's the first chronologically, but at least today, the first paper, full paper on the influence of material color. So we'll be able to see. Let me see if there is some other paper here. Study of material color influences on mechanical characteristic. Fuse, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me see if we can get that one also. Looking for papers. I suppose uploading a new paper. Okay, and then you have this paper also, the effect of PLA colors. Hey, Tin Tannen, how are you? Let's see if we can get this one. Oh, actually, they are available also. Okay, so there is two research, and then this one. Maybe I can also get this one. Okay, there you go. So, oh, sorry. So one paper, two paper. So this is the one we just downloaded. Three paper, and then that's it. Okay, so there's three papers that has been released. They're not the same, right? No. Three paper that has been released. And let's see. I think CNC Kitchen is explaining why he was not convinced by these papers. So since I don't fully agree with the method they applied, because I also wondering the same thing for a while, I finally performed my own proper investigation. Okay, so he didn't think that the method that was used was good enough. So let's see. I purchased 10 different PLA filament color from the German filament manufacturer Das Filament. I talked to them, making sure that they always use the same type of palettes, and that the only difference between the samples was the used master batch. I got natural PLA without any pigment, then the typical black and white color, as well as matte black variant. Then I got regular blue and also translucent blue. The only other specialty filament I got was silver. The rest were standard green, yellow. My result will, of course, not be universally applicable. Okay, so already here there's a little bit of an improvement on optimization. I think we could do on the paper we want to do is so master batch is a very wide word, right? For example, he tested matte black, and the way he introduced it is that matte black is the same PLA, but you add a master batch that is matte, basically. But what I would say is, let me think about it. In the master batch, there is not only there is not only the pigment or the dye, right? There is other stuff that's gonna help the formula itself. Um, yeah, I'm still thinking about it, but let's continue. The sample that I chose to print were tensile specimen, blah blah. Okay, so then after he goes straight into the printing, and then what we notice is we have matte black, grass green. So the layer adhesion is can change a lot depending on silver or the silver and the matte black. And where is the natural? And the natural is here. So that's interesting. So some of the master batch reduce the layer adhesion. Some of the master batch increase the layer adhesion. Okay, so and then when it comes to the ductility, same. Some reduce the ductility, some increase the ductility. Okay, so I think the main difference between the test is how much do we know about the filament itself, about the formula itself. So in that case, the only thing we know is that the base polymer is the same, but the master batch is different. We just don't know what is in the master batch, right? Ideally, we can do a paper where we know much more about the formula. And I already talked to Polymaker, by the way, and they are willing to provide quite some information about the colorant that they are using. So I think that's a really good news. They even explain. So that's from them that I learned about the pigment and the dye differences, and that's also from them that I learned that sometimes it's not only about pigment and dye. It's also about a formulation that will allow the color to bond properly to the base polymer. So I give you an example. You take a polymer, you put a dye, it works well, it bonds well, then that's it. Sometimes you take a polymer, you take a dye, it doesn't work very well. So on top of that, you add some other stuff that are not really dye or colorant, but these other stuff will allow the dye or the pigment to bond more to the matrix polymer. So to give it the color, a more even color, for example. And then for a silk effect, it's the same. It's not about just adding a dye. You add a dye and then you formulate with other additives in order to make it the silk effect. So, and that's the part here that is not taken away, right? So here we compare matte black with silk silver, for example, at kind of the same level. So maybe our paper could be something like only focusing on the color itself, and then if there is some reformulation in order to have silk or matte, then maybe that can be tested separately. Like the same, let's say the same dye, let's say black, like carbon black, and then carbon black just with itself, and then carbon black with a reformulation to have a silk effect, and then carbon black to have a reformulation for a matte effect, and then carbon black for blah blah effect, and then blah blah effect, right? And then all of this, it will have exactly the same dye, but then you know the difference between the formulation that is used to make silk effect, how does it affect the property, right? So I think we can go down that route, and I think that might be the main part that differentiate all the different research paper is how much do they know about the filament. So for him, he knew that he talked to Das Filament, and then he knew that it was the base polymer was the same, and then the master batch was different, but he doesn't know the percentage, and like it could be 80% base polymer and then 20% the master batch, or it could be, and in some cases it could be like 98% the base polymer and then 2% the master batch. We don't know. So I think this is where we can improve the paper. Okay, so let's see how they did theirs. Today, one of the most used blah is PLA. On the market today, there are many different companies producing PLA in different diameter, different color. Previous research showing that there are so many parameters that affect mechanical properties, yes. Blah, blah, blah. It will be tested more than 10 different color of PLA material, and for every color, it will be tested 3 specimens, blah, 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 okay? So let's see if they learn about the PLA itself. Additive manufacturing, blah, blah, okay. Let me know if you cannot read, then I will zoom in a little bit more. 20% in profit, blah, blah, fast growing, that's just introduction, blah, 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 blah. The quality of the blah, blah, okay. Many different materials available, blah, 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 okay. By reviewing the literature, it can be noticed that the greatest accent is given to the influence of parameters and mechanical properties of materials, blah, 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 blah. This is one reason why we chose to examine how much the color of PLA material influences the mechanical properties. In the further work, we will be examined 13 different colors of PLA material of the same manufacturer and their influence on mechanical properties, okay? The aim of this study is to investigate the influence of color, blah, blah, blah. Ordered from the same company, 3D Republica, has been used to manufacture this specimen. Property of this material given by manufacturers are presented in table 1. Okay, table 1. So that's not okay. So that's property in terms of like performance. Okay, got it. Experiment methodology, PLA from Republica, 13 different color, CAD model, blah, blah, okay. In addition, the manufacturer gives us the same characteristic regardless of the selected color. Has 30 different type of color of PLA material, okay. For this experiment, we chose 14 different colors of PLA materials: green, blue, white, orange, pink, magenta, red, blah, blah, blah. Glow in the dark also. For each color, 3 different samples are prepared. Okay, so they might not go back to PLA, 14 different colors, subject to tensor, okay. Okay, so you can see that here we have the same problem, right? They don't know whether, even worse, I would say, than CNC Kitchen, because here they buy from the same manufacturer and they assume that is the same formula and only the color change. And they also have glow in the dark silver, which I assume is silk. They have gold, which I assume is silk. So even here, that's an improvement we can make, right? Is I guess that's going to be the key point about the paper, is how much do we know about the formula itself. And I'm really happy that Ponymaker will provide this, and I hope that we're going to have more manufacturers that going to help with that paper. Okay, so blah, blah. I don't need cheap viewers. Coop son of fish jalni. I need smart viewers. If you give me smart viewers, then I'll buy it. I'm kidding. This live stream is not for cheap viewers. Okay, so maybe they are going to talk about it in the discussion part. In this experiment, color influence of PLA material and tensor properties were analyzed. During the test, tensor elastic modules, blah, blah, okay. Yeah, so they put everything like this, okay. Color of PLA materials have influence. Yeah, so you see, they consider color of PLA has influence, but that's the problem. It's not the only thing that changed between pink and silver, for example. There is other thing, especially glow in the dark, right? There's other thing that changes. So color of PLA have influence, blah, blah. Color of PLA have influence, blah, blah. Look at that huge difference between pink and blue. It's like a factor almost 5 between pink and blue. And I have a hard time believing that it's only because of the pigment or the dye that you have such a difference. So that's why learning more about the materials would be very useful. The strain as well. That's crazy. Okay, conclusion. So what's the conclusion? Today on the market, blah, blah, blah. Okay. for different color of the same materials, in this case PLA, they don't make a difference in mechanical properties. This was one of the reasons of this research, to determine whether the color influence on mechanical properties of PLA materials. After testing 14 different colors of PLA materials, the following conclusion was reached. Color of PLA materials have influence, elastic modulus, influence yield test, blah, blah. This study analyzed only influence of PLA colors on tensile properties. In future research, the influence of material colors on other mechanical properties should be examined, blah, blah. Okay, so again, nice paper, but I think what could be improved is really the actual effect of the color, just the color, not anything else. So they are citing another one, the effect of PLA color. Is that the one we already have open? Yeah, okay, so it's one we already have. Okay, so that's the paper here. Again, the main optimization, I think, is about learning, like, I guess the optimization of the paper is how well can you isolate the color factor from other factors. Does that make sense? Like that's the key of the paper, is how well you can isolate that factor and keep as much as you can around the same. Keep as much as same as possible, and only change that factor. Okay, let's see how they did in here. The objective to evaluate the influence of material color property. The performance of the product is evaluated by testing 8 different colors of ABS and PLA. Blah blah. Oh, by the way, how is the white perform here? White is here. White is here. White is here. And white is here. White is here. Yeah, so even in that paper, there is no sign of white being weaker. So you know what? I really don't understand where that come from. Why do people think that white is weaker? Let's see the CNC kitchen. Axial strength test. White is here. And then white is here. That's for the ductility. Impact resistance, white is here. Similar to natural, a bit lower. Hook test, white is here. Similar to black and grass green. Warping, white is here. So almost the least amount of warping. And is there a layer adhesion somewhere? I thought there was layer adhesion. This I think is layer adhesion. Layer adhesion sample. With the lying sample, blah blah. Impact performance. Maybe we need to watch the video. Where's the layer adhesion? Yeah, I really need to start to have some mods. Best viewer is better than cheap. Okay, let me see. Maybe yeah, I need to start having some mods in the chat. Okay, layer adhesion. Okay, so here's layer adhesion. Okay, so here's white. Actually, white is one of the best layer adhesion. I mean, where does that come from? Why people say white is weaker? I don't understand. Where does that come from? The few study that we see that has actually tested it, none of them say that white is much weaker than other colors. Is that? What did you think of the white cap? Yeah, I mean, the white cap, the one you sent to me, Builder's Mark, the most impressive is not really the properties, the mechanical properties. Is more the fact that the color has 10 after 3 years. That's very impressive. Even regular PLA, I mean, would have to be tested, but I assume regular PLA would have some yellowing already after 3 years. That's the most impressive. Isn't layer adhesion a lot harder with ABS? A layer adhesion a lot harder with ABS? Yeah. So we are only talking about the difference between colors, right? But definitely layer adhesion would be much weaker if you print at low chamber temperature. But ABS is pretty different than PLA. I mean, that could be. They are only testing PLA here. So here they are testing ABS. So let's just go ahead of ourselves and let's just go straight to their result. PLA strength, ABS. Okay, so ABS, white is. Oh, please don't tell me they didn't use white. Natural black, purple, orange, green. Oh, no way. Oh no, they didn't use white. Control F, white. Translucent white, natural. I'm so sorry. They didn't test white. Maybe here? No, they only test PLA. So it could be, Nick. It could be that somewhere on the internet there is evidence that ABS white is much weaker than other color, which is the reason it is banned from the custom printer community, right? It is possible. I guess we don't have. There is no paper that either they don't use ABS, either they use ABS, but it was not white. But I'm. You know what? If you see anyone on the forum or on the Discord, right, that says you should not use white, then ask him, ask that person why. From my experience, every time I ask why, they usually say my own experience. But I feel like their own experience is highly biased by what they see around. You know what I mean? Like if they keep seeing that something will break easily, it will influence them to think that it will indeed break easily, even though it's the same as others. You get what I mean? Like how personal experience can be very easily affected by what you see around you. Do you agree with me? Or you think I'm very stubborn and I don't want to listen to a personal experience from someone? Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but personal experience or not, I think data is the best. I guess comes down to data for me. Okay, so let's see how much they learn about their PLA or their ABS, whether they've been able to isolate that factor. Characteristic behavior influence of material color. In most cases, it is assumed that filament color have an insignificant relevant connection for final quality. And then they cite something here. Anisotropical material fuse the polonium bodies. Yeah, so in most of the paper, they don't care about color. Performance analysis of colored PLA product with a fuse, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there is some other paper here that are interesting. The objective to study the influence of color additive use in PLA. Oh, that's another interesting one. Okay, so I want to know. Okay, the material. Oh, sorry. The ABS and PLA filament were provided by Eason, Beijing, China. They are not in Beijing. They are in Shenzhen. Maybe at that time they were in Beijing. 8 different colors: red, yellow, blue, green, black, orange, purple, and natural were selected to determine the influence of the final property of the print. All filaments were stored in a sealed package with desiccant packet to avoid moisture absorption. The specimens were manufactured by Fumat HT. That's Intensys, right? Is that Intensys? I think it's Intensys. Yeah, Intensys. Commercial FDM print, blah, blah, blah. All specimens in different colors were printed under the same condition. including time what to reduce the influence of anisotropy, blah, blah. Okay, so here's the same. They don't have information about the filament itself. They assume that the fact that it comes from the same manufacturer means that the only difference between them is the color. So, blah, blah. Prepare. In total, there were 72 specimens corresponding to different color. Yeah, so that's the same. So it looks like this research is the same as the other one. And the printing quality is interesting. Oh, no, that's when they broke it. Oh, that's interesting. It delaminated the shell when they tried to break it. That's interesting. Okay, blah 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 blah. Okay, so and then all the rest. I'm interested in this white analysis of chromatology. According to the sorry, I think this part is interesting. According to the additive method of color reproduction or color mixing theory, all the colors are produced by adding or blending together in different proportion colors, primary colors or three colors, depending on blah, blah. In general, for pigment and links, red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors. As said before, the difference in materials behavior of various filament color is due to the additive. Therefore, it is necessary to analyze whether the mechanical properties is also in line with the color mixing theory. Yeah, that's a little bit strange. So they believe, okay, I think I understand their idea. So they believe that if you put red and it reduces the layer adhesion by 20%, and if you put blue and it increased the layer adhesion by, I don't know, 20%, then if you put purple, it should be relatively like no change. I think that's their hypothesis. This is the reason that we selected this color as experimental object. I'm not sure. And I think it's better to just ask the manufacturer. Like I said, I'm very happy that Polymaker is going to provide this information. For example, purple, we will know. We are still discussing, but we might know exactly how much pigment was used, and I think that's a better correlation. Because saying that purple is a blue plus red equally, I think it's a little bit pushing the hypothesis. I think. Blah blah blah. So basically, they do the mixing, and then they try to do the mixing between the result and see if it's the same or not, something like this. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. Let's see their conclusion. They did the same with PLA from Eason also. Conclusion. This paper evaluated the influence of filament colors, blah, 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 ABS and PLA specimens. The analysis of experimental results present that color of the material plays a significant role in the performance of the products. Different filament colors affected the property of the experiment to various degree. Sample chosen from the same Eason PLA materials but in various colors showed a maximum difference of 29%. Yeah, okay, so that's again the hypothesis that I think we should not do, is that if it comes from the same manufacturer, then it's exactly the same PLA. For me, that's not true. On one hand, the highest value of three kinds of mechanical strengths, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and all the rest is based on that. Okay, so what are the discussions? This study reveals the relationship between mechanical characteristic and mixture of colors. Beside the complex parametric optimization approach, user can also improve strengths of their product by choosing proper colored filament, which is much easier to achieve. However, this preliminary research has several limitations and needs to be improved. First of all, the experimental materials are limited to ABS and PLA. Although previous studies have demonstrated color additive PLA can lead to changes, blah, blah, blah. This study used 4 sets of color mixture to verify color mixing theory. According to color reproduction, the 3 primary colors can be mixed to produce almost all the other color. Therefore, more color combination needed to be tested in the future. Yeah, I'm not too sure I agree too much with that. A question that is not considered when processing the data: error of color. Due to the wide range of color spectrum, it is difficult to tell whether a red color is a pure red. For example, mixture of red and yellow can be orange, reddish orange, yellowish orange. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad they put that in the discussion. Apparently, the properties of these three colors are not the same, which will affect the value, blah, blah, how to accurately describe the color. Yeah, but this is the same. It's not true that to do orange, you put red and yellow. It's not always true that to get a color, like you have some pigment, like some organic pigment that are already the color that you need, right? Like it's already a special molecule that has the color you need. You don't need to take orange and yellow, red and yellow to make orange, for example. I don't think that's how it works. At last, it has been proved that the color filler in filament leads to discrepancy in mechanical performance. Again, I wouldn't call it color filler. In some cases, it might be true. In some other cases, it might be more than just the dye or the pigment. So it depends on how they define color filler, actually. However, all filament manufacturers keep their respective color additive as proprietary trade secret. Okay, so that's exactly the part that we will try to break, right? That's exactly the part we will try to break, is to try to learn more about that additive, making it challenging to explain the result as the additive are unknown. Yeah, exactly. For this reason, a more detailed experiment before printing is needed to be conducted to obtain color filament through a filament production process by blending natural with other color additive with non-chemical characterization. Yeah, exactly. So the two last paragraph of the whole research is the 2 points that I was highlighted. Number one, the color mixture theory is I don't think is correct. Has to be confirmed with filament manufacturer. And number two, yes, you do need to learn much more about how the color pigment or dye is being added to the filament. And they actually refer 32 on this. Color fuse fabrication. Okay, so maybe there's something we can learn from that one. Let me see. Get access. No. FDM is a method of choice, blah, blah, blah. We explore novel approach to 3D printing color object capable of creating control gradient of varying sharpness. Our technique explore off-shell nozzle, describe mixed multiple. Okay, so it's how to make a colorful filament. Okay. And then the last one, did we read this one? No, last one. Introduction, blah, blah. I feel like we read this one. All materials were shipped together and contained in sealed box, blah, blah, blah. Additionally, each spool was vacuum sealed. The test samples were printed on a loose bud, blah, blah. Diffraction, identical parameter, blah, blah. Printed sample. Okay, wait. Where do they talk about the colors? Okay, in order to close the knowledge gap surrounding prosumer 3D printing parts, strengths determine the effect of color. This study characterized 3D printed PLA in various colors from a single supplier. Commercially available filament process from 4043D PLA is tested from alpha object for 5 colors: white, black, blue, and gray, and natural. After printing on this board, the sample are tested for crystallinity, tensor strengths following blah blah, microstructure is variated in environment, blah blah. Okay, so they are assuming that they are all 4043 plus different pigment. I think that's what they are assuming, which could be true, could not be true. I don't know. And then they do their whole testing. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's really the point for us. The point for us will be to get as much information from the manufacturers as possible. Yeah, so in that case, natural is like the difference between the natural and the black, what it is. And ideally, yeah, as much information as possible. I think that's going to be the key of that research paper. What do you think? The key, but the hardest, I think. You know why it's the hardest? Because, sorry, because for some colors, filament manufacturer buy a color master batch directly from another supplier, and the other supplier don't usually won't talk about what's in the master batch. And in that case, then even if the filament manufacturers won't like tell us what percentage of master batch, but they don't know what is in the master batch. So there is different level. The good thing about Polymaker is that they make most of their colors, so they know exactly what is in the master batch. But there is still some colors that are not made in-house, and I'm assuming that's the case for a lot of filament manufacturers. Actually, I would say the majority of filament manufacturers buy their master batch. They don't make them, which means it might be quite hard to get this amount of information. That's why I'm happy we can work with Polymaker so that we know exactly what it is. And I'm hoping we have some other filament manufacturers that do their own color master batch, or if they don't do their own color master batch, they at least have good relationship with their supplier that they can, they can say what is in the master batch. You know what I mean? Builder's mark, and the batch may not be the same. Well, I guess we're gonna consider that negligible. Otherwise, like if you mean the color master batch is not the same, in theory, I guess yes. It's impossible to have exactly the same, I'm guessing, but I think for the purpose of the paper, I think we're gonna consider that. Well, no, actually, it doesn't matter. Well, let me think about it. We're gonna test one batch of black, one batch of white, one batch of gray. So we don't really need batch to batch consistency because we only test one batch, right? So yeah. If we would test a lot of different black, like let's say if we would do like how different printing temperature affects a filament, then we will try to use the same batch for that purpose. But in that case, yeah. Okay, and yeah, I think that was some of the research that I wanted to do today. So I'm going to record this research paper here, and then I will share them. Oh, actually, they are open on my computer for some reason. Oh, maybe because I downloaded them. Okay, my bad. I will just share. I will just share that on Printbuster. Where did I put that? Oh, actually, we don't have any channel that talk about color. So I guess it's physical test. How should I call that? Color. How should I call that? Effect. Color. Effect of colors. Something like this. And then let me drag and drop all the papers if you guys want to do some reading. Let me see. There's this one. Performance analysis, color product with fuse, blah blah, and then study of material influence, effect of colors. Okay, there's all this paper. And then let me put them here. And let me screenshot this also. I put everything in the channel so that you guys have some references. Okay, and yeah, sorry for the live stream that might be a little bit boring for some of you. Um, I'm hoping I will receive all the devices and stuff like this soon, so that we can actually break some stuff and discover some stuff. What I would like to do, I think the excitement from print busters, or at least to start to grow the community, or the print buster community, I think will come from the excitement of discovery. Okay, like during live stream, or during some talk, or during some hangout on the Discord, when we are going to discover some stuff. At least for me, that's what driving me. Like, you break some stuff, or you print some stuff, and then you kind of like, you have like a revelation on, like, oh really, if you do this, then it's, like that type of, I think that type of discovery is what's going to drive a bit more excitement to this live stream. But anyway, thanks again, guys, for joining this Tuesday Print Busters. As a summary, we just learned a little bit about some other papers that we're trying to tackle the same idea that we are trying to tackle, the Print Buster community. For the paper, we want to we try to finish that paper before the end of the year. And the conclusion of today is that the key, how powerful the paper can be, will depend on how much we are going to learn from each filament in terms of color composition. So yeah. Okay, thanks again, everyone. I hope you enjoy and learn a little bit. At least you learned that there is a difference between dye and pigment. That's what I learned. Okay, thanks again, guys, and have a good week. Thank you, everyone. Bye.